Hello. Giving a little bit of time for people to sign in so they can watch our story today. Today's story, coming to you live from the Milledgeville Public Library in Illinois. We have a very a special request story today. Hi, Laura. Hi, Brody. Hi, Cameron. Today's story is a story that comes from Europe. It comes from the country of Ireland. And this is a story that is a very special request for a very special niece of mine. Her name is Miriam, and she is 15 years old today. Happy birthday, Miriam. Miriam requested a funny story today. So I have a story for you from Ireland. It is called Finn McCool and Cuchulainn. Long, long ago, when the fairies and the leprechauns still lived in plentiful abundance in Ireland, there were also in the country a great number of giants. One of those giants was named Finn McCool. And Finn was a rather jolly, happy person. And he liked to help other people and do things, about the country to help other people. And he lived with his wife, Una, who was a very wise and lovely giant, on the top of a great hill called Knockemany Hill. Well, there was another giant in Ireland. His name was Cuchulainn. Well, Cuchulainn was a bit of a bully. He was a very big giant, and every time he took a step, there was a little earthquake. And he was so strong that one time he caught a thunderbolt, a lightning bolt, as it came down out of the sky, and he clapped his hands together and he flattened it until it looked like a pancake. And he used to carry that around in his pocket and pull it out to show people, to prove just how strong he was. Now, Cuchulainn, he had managed to beat up every giant in Ireland except one. And he was determined to add that one giant to his list of people he had beat up. And as you might have guessed, that one giant was Finn McCool. Well, he had tried for years to catch Finn McCool. But Finn McCool kept taking Una and moving about the countryside so that he could avoid Cuchulainn. The time this story happened, Finn McCool was working with a number of his other giant friends and family to build a causeway to Scotland. And suddenly, word reached them that Cuchulainn was on his way, and he was bound and determined that he was gonna beat up Finn McCool. Well, Finn McCool immediately left work on the causeway and went running back home to Una on the top of Knockemany Hill. And when he came through the door, Una said to him, "Finn, my love, you're home awfully early this day. What's wrong?" And he said, "Well, nothing, darling. I just wanted to see your happy face." And because he was as honest as the day is long, he said to her, "And Cuchulainn's on his way, and I wanted to avoid him." And Una said, "Finn, my love, this is ridiculous. You have been moving us about the countryside for years now to try to avoid Cuchulainn. He cannot be that terrible." And Finn said, "Una, he carries a lightning bolt in his pocket. I do not want to fight a person who makes baby earthquakes when he walks and who can flatten a lightning bolt with one fist." She said, "Finn, my love, I have an idea. Do you trust me? Well, I trust you, love. Well then, we're not going to run this time. This time we're going to take care of this problem. Well, Finn wasn't so sure about that, but Una said she knew what she was doing, and he trusted her. So Una went, and she took 9 woolen threads, all of different colors, and she braided them together into 3 braids, and then she braided those 3 braids together. And then she made them into a circle, one around her right wrist, one around her heart, and one around her right ankle. It was an old fairy charm that she had learned, and now nothing that she did could fail. So she sent word to the neighbors that she needed to borrow some iron pans. You know, the cast iron kind of pans that you cook in on the stovetop. She needed to borrow some, and she borrowed 21 pans from all of her neighbors. And as soon as she got those pans, she really quick made up some bread, and she baked the bread with those pans inside in the oven. And then when she was done, she took that bread and she put it up on the shelf with some bread that she had baked the day before. And then she went and she took some milk and she made a little white cheese. It was a little round ball like this. Rather looked like some of the white stones that they had outside the cottage. And she took that cheese and she got some of the white stones from outside the cottage. And then she said, Finn, my love, come here. I need you to get into the cradle. Put these baby clothes on. We'll cover you up with a blanket. Get into the cradle. Well, all right, Una, if you say so. And so he put on the baby clothes best he could, and he put himself in the cradle, and they covered him up with a blanket. And then Una took that cheese and those stones, and she put them in the bottom of the cradle. Just set them right there on the bottom of the cradle near Finn's feet. Well, pretty soon, the earth began to shake a little, and a little more, and a little more, and a little more. And then there was a pounding on the door, and there was Cuchulainn. And Una went to the door, and she said, well, good day to you then, and won't you come on inside? And Cuchulainn said, woman, where is Finn McCool? Do you see this? This. He pulled something out of his pocket that looked like a pancake. And he said, this is a thunderbolt. I caught it out of the sky and I flattened it with my hand, and that's what I'm going to do to Finn McCool. She said, oh. Well, Sharon, don't you know, Finn was after working on the causeway with his friends and his family, but, you know, I believe there was some important family business he had to tend to today, but, you know, he'll be home by tea time, so come on in and sit yourself down. Oh, and she said, would you have something to eat? And he said, well, that would be lovely. And as she was getting the bread out of the cupboard, she said to him, do you know, I'm thinking it might be a bit hard for you to beat on Finn McCool. He's quite a big, brawny man. If you'd like, just take a look at our babby here. He's a good example of what Finn, it's a wee little lad, but he's a good example of what Finn would look something like. Well, Cuchulainn, the one look at the cradle. That's a rather large babby you've got there. Oh, gee, he's a wee little lad compared to his father. Well, now Cuchulainn wasn't quite so sure. That was a pretty big baby. If that was the baby, what did Finn McCool look like? How big was he? But Una was putting the food on the table. Some butter and some bread and a bit of cabbage, a bit of everything, really. A glass of stout. And Cuchulainn, he was as greedy as he was a bully. Just as much a glutton as he was a bully. And there was some bread on the table, and it looked mighty fine. And so he took the loaf of bread, and he took a mighty bite out of it, and clang! He bit down on one of those iron pans, and lo and behold, 2 of his teeth fell out. Good heavens, woman, what kind of bread is this? I've lost a couple of teeth. And she said, well, that's Finn's bread. That's the only kind of bread he'll eat. Sure, is it too tough for you then? And he says, no, I'll just try another loaf. And he took another loaf and he took another bite and clang, 2 more teeth fell out. He said, I'm going to lose all the teeth in my head. This is ridiculous. Well, right about this time, the baby in the cradle started to say, hungry, hungry, hungry. Oh, you wee lad, are you hungry then? And Una took one of the loaves of bread that didn't have a pan in it, and she handed it to the baby Finn. And Finn took that loaf and he just gobbled it right up. And when he was done, more. And so she took another loaf and she handed it to him and he gobbled it right up. Well, Cuchulainn could not believe what he was seeing. He had lost 4 teeth on 2 loaves of bread, and that baby just ate 2 of those loaves of bread without losing a single tooth. How was it possible? And he looked at Una and he said, lad's a pretty strong lad. And she said, oh, well, she said, he doesn't like to play with dollies or little wooden toys. No. He likes to play with those white stones that he has there. Babby, we're dear. Show the good man how you play with the stones. And so Finn, he reached down and he picked up that one cheese that was in there that looked like a rock. And he squeezed it really hard and all the water ran out of it. And then he took it and he gobbled up that cheese. Well, Cuchulainn was not about to be outdone by a baby. So he picked up one of those stones that was in the cradle and he squeezed it. And he squeezed it. And he squeezed it. But of course, because it was a rock, nothing happened. No water came out. And he thought, well, all right, fine, I'll just eat the thing then. And he threw it in his mouth and he bit down on it and there went the rest of his teeth. All of his teeth fell out. And he said, that babby has got some really strong teeth. Let me see your teeth, child. And the baby opened his mouth. Now, something you need to know about Cuchulainn is that he had a secret to his great strength. The secret to his great strength was his finger. It was made out of brass, and it was where all of his strength lived. Well, have you ever seen somebody looking at a baby's teeth? A lot of times people like to kind of stick their finger in the baby's mouth because babies don't like to keep their mouth open and show off their teeth all the time. And so that's exactly what Cuchulainn did. He said, well, come on, laddie, let me see your teeth now. And so Finn opened his mouth. And Cuchulainn stuck his finger in, that very same finger where all of his strength lived. He stuck his finger in there, and Finn McCool chomped down and bit off his finger. And then he jumped up out of that cradle and he started to beat up on Cuchulainn. Because now Cuchulainn was pretty weak. He was just a normal giant strength and he didn't have any really strong strength. And pretty soon, Cuchulainn, he took off running and he ran away and he never bothered any giant again, let alone Finn McCool. And as he ran off down the hill, Una said, Finn, my love, tea's ready. And Finn came in and he sat down and he had tea at the table with his wife. And they lived very happily together to the end of their days. And that is the story of Finn McCool and Cuchulainn from Ireland. I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you again on Monday at 3 o'clock here on the Milledgeville Public Library Facebook page. We'll have another story for you. We'll see you later. Bye. Have a good weekend.